The first time I ever encountered the term, "it insists upon itself," was from a quote tweet commenting on a post of someone's fancy French toast. In response to the photo, it said, "It insists upon itself. Food for the eyes rather than the soul." Most of the replies were clowning on the user for critiquing a seemingly delicious-looking French toast with an interesting flavor combo, but I can see where the user was coming from, to a degree. The term was popularized by Seth MacFarlane in an episode of Family Guy, where the character of Peter Griffin admits that he didn't quite like The Godfather, with his explanation being,
Couldn't get into it.
Explain yourself. What didn't you like about it?
It insists upon itself, Lois.
What?
It insists upon itself.
What does that even mean?
Some people have gone on to say that the term is useful for describing pieces of media that are pretentious and expect the audience to be awed by its existence by birthright, implying that there is a subtext of unearned importance present within the weave of the text itself. Others, including MacFarlane himself, suggest that the phrase is just utter nonsense and is used specifically to deflect on not getting or understanding a piece of media, or to imply that the person hasn't given the movie a fair chance. Peter Griffin, in the context of the scene, hasn't even finished The Godfather. MacFarlane claims that he first heard the term from his film history teacher as an explanation for why they didn't like The Sound of Music. I agree more with MacFarlane on this one, even though I'm not particularly fond of his persona as a celebrity, and I've never even seen an episode of any show or movie he's ever created, mainly because I'm just not that into the American adult animation scene as a whole, but that's besides the point. I think the phrase is a good example of word salad nonsense that functions perfectly within the scene in Family Guy, which is an infamous cutaway gag, since Peter Griffin is supposed to be an idiot of a character that usually holds bad opinions, as far as I'm aware, since again, I haven't actually seen the show. I know the character on occasion speaks for the writer's true opinions, using Peter Griffin's voice as a lampshade to share how they truly feel on a stage much larger than an angry tweet or a water cooler discussion ever could have. Over time, the term has actually been adopted by the Peter Griffins of the world in the exact same way with no irony present, probably feeling like they were being seen or represented by this rant on The Godfather to a degree. This is a problem for pretty much every satirical father figure character in a family sitcom, which I know that this show is satirizing, and it probably will continue into infinity until someone puts a stop to all this nonsense. I think of Al Bundy and Archie Bunker and I weep openly. And this doesn't describe every person using this term, by the way, of course. But for the people who function as faux intellectuals and crusade against what they see as pretension, against things they just can't understand from an AI overview alone, I'm attempting to call you out here. It's okay to not like The Godfather, by the way. Gen X dudes have been really annoying about that series for decades now, and I can understand the exhaustion people have surrounding that specific conversation as a whole. This is a touchy subject for me of all people to be talking about, glass houses and such, especially since I primarily talk about made-for-TV movies on the internet. I also like so-called pretentious movies as well, and I enjoy talking and thinking about them in my everyday life. I'm one of those assholes who will yap about The Social Network to anybody who will listen to me, and have conversations about it when given the chance. However, my favorite movie of all time is, of course, My Babysitter's a Vampire, a made-for-TV movie from a Canadian animation network that would eventually get absorbed by Cartoon Network. Check out the literal hours of content I have on that series on my channel, if you're interested. I say all this to provide context for my complicated feelings on the subject, as the person who likes pretentious shit like The Lighthouse in my free time and during the off-season, yet has made a brand for myself of talking about Disney Channel original movies and other films of the sort. By the way, if you like watching me cook, check out the Decom Foods blog on Tumblr. I will link it in the description below. If you don't have Tumblr, you can just look at it as a website. So I'm here bringing up all of this discourse to try and argue that the term "it insists upon itself" could be used in a different context, separated from any form of detecting pretension, and instead to imply a piece of media is purely understanding itself for what it is, insisting on the viewer meeting the context of the text where it's at. This seems to be a difficult thing for certain movie viewers to do, which is why films of this nature immediately upon birth are unfairly dogged on, or not discussed in a serious context whatsoever. My goal is to change that. Again, like I said about The Godfather, you don't have to like rags, which I promise this video is actually about, but I want people who watch movies of any and all parameters to understand what the movie is trying to do, decipher exactly what it's aiming for, and then assess the film on whether you liked it or not based on that core understanding of the product. In my opinion, if you're not willing to do all of that, then be quiet and stop making me read your garbage movie reviews. I'll start commenting on your reviews with a score from 1 out of 10 if you keep up with it, so watch out. I don't mind it. You know what? I'm going to start. I don't like French toast. I'm not a French toast person, but this might make me consider making French toast more often. I don't think I would infuse the tea into the milk because that's just too long of a process. Oh, did you guys see my Fred t-shirt?